Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is December the 10th, 2025. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day to ya. Hopefully you humped and didn't get humped. Unless that's what you're into, then by all means, have at it, you little rabbit. No, my day was good though. We started off a little too slow. But hey, we got up, we got going. I was a little bit later out of the gate. I just didn't want to go to work yet again. I know this is becoming a motif, but I was like, all right, we're going to be okay. We're going to get to work on time. No worries. And as I'm, driving, I see that a train is not only on the tracks, it's just stopped on the tracks. And I'm like, okay, so I got to take a whole detour, which did make me, not like super late or anything, but late enough that I was annoyed about it. I think I clocked in like 7 minutes late. So I was like, okay, that's just the week we're having. So be it. But after that, I was determined, just have a good work day. Let's just keep it moving. Let's just get going with it. And I get over to my workstation. The cardboard crusher is running, ready to go. Actually, someone was already working on it. And I was like, all right, cool. But then I look over and I see that the red light is on the compost, on the composite trash or whatever, on everything else. And I was like, well, that's a little concerning. That means it's probably filled. Now I was able to get it to run and everything, so that was solid. But everyone who normally comes up, janitors, I don't know why I can't keep saying janitors funny, but the janitorial staff kept coming up and like, is it full? And I'm like, yeah, I think so. I think pretty much, yeah. And leads kept coming down asking like, hey, so did they change it out yet? And I'm like, no, they didn't. And fast forwarding a bit, they didn't wind up changing the crusher until I don't know, maybe an hour or two before I was supposed to leave. So I was like, oh, so that was a little bit rough, but and of course you knew that they filled it up with cardboard the other night. So we love that. What was it? The guy in maintenance, as I was chilling on the end of my day, was telling me, he's like, yeah, I had to go to the assistant general manager and tell him look, this is jamming up the crusher. You can't keep having this, man. You got to get on, your guys, the other supervisors who are just, making this happen. And, he's like, okay, yeah, we'll go check it out. Da, da, da. But it's just the same thing over and over and over again. These guys trying to find all these cool little quirky, cool, smart solutions to make this cardboard disappear, but really you're just sweeping things under the rug more times than not. You're just making more problems where there shouldn't be, and we have to take it as it is. We have to just tank this time, we got to surf on some cardboard a little bit. I don't know, but needless to say, I was determined to have a good day despite, the situation with the other compactor. Work was pretty smooth outside of everything else, outside of that. So, overall, we'll take it. And I say it was smooth in terms of just the work, yes, but I wasn't feeling 100%, honestly. I got up, I was a bit tired. I know I didn't say this at the top of the episode, but I was a bit tired. I didn't sleep, consistently. Hadn't eaten well, and I think it all had just kind of caught up with me at around maybe my second break. I had at that point too much coffee, too much caffeine in general, and just a little bit of popcorn just set everything off. My stomach was just knotted. I just didn't feel good. And, I was trying to, rally throughout the day. Overall, I was okay, but I didn't feel great. So, we get through the day, like I said, overall, all right. And, by the end of the day, I'm I think I'm good enough to go to the gym. I don't want to skip that. So I get to the gym and, I get myself together, get myself all changed. And I'm able, to get on all my equipment, for starters, little spoilers there. But I'm just on the Smith machine and I'm just not feeling it. And I hate that. I literally get through all of my workouts, fine. but they just didn't feel good. I didn't feel like I actually really like connected, really busted ass, on my cardio. I really didn't feel like I was like running it down, so that's a bit of a bummer for our Wednesday workout, but I'm glad I got in. I'm glad I got all my movements done. Like, I'm very happy about that. So overall, W gym session. It just sucks when you feel a little bit off, you know what I mean? But I will take feeling a little bit off as opposed to like, oh, you're full on sick, you know what I mean, or injured. Those are worse than just like, oh, my stomach feels funny, because that's more or less what it was. But yeah, post that, we come home, get some research in, and now we are here, ready to yap it out. So yeah, that's been my day. Of course, I did expect it to be a little bit. I say, of course, I expected it. I had expected it to be a little bit warmer because the forecast when I looked at it was like in the 40s, and I was like, all right, cool. But it was not giving 40s until like maybe the middle of the day, and so for most of the day, it's just been cold. Yet again, surprise, surprise, in the winter. But man, it sucks. But yeah, that's been my day. Overall, it was a good one, but my stomach did not feel great. But I think we are rallying now, so hopefully, that continues to hold. Let's knock on wood. All right, let's go ahead and do our startup, and let's get into some news. All right. Whew. Our first story comes from the Associated Press. Trump says the U.S. has seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela. President Donald Trump said Wednesday that the United States has seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela as tensions mount with the government of President Nicolas Maduro. Let's see here. Using U.S. forces to take control of a merchant ship is incredibly unusual and marks the Trump administration's latest push to increase pressure on Maduro, who has been charged with narco-terrorism in the United States. The U.S. has built up the largest military presence in the region in decades and launched a series of deadly strikes on alleged drug smuggling boats in the Caribbean Sea and Eastern Pacific Ocean. The campaign is facing growing scrutiny from Congress. I think I heard, listening to like a little audio clip, that, and I can't remember exactly from where. It might have been from this article. I'm not 100% sure. So, don't quote me. But 20% of our Navy is in this region right now. Fighting what? Fighting drugs? We're fighting Maduro. We're fighting Venezuela as a whole. Like, we're just blowing shit up. And we're taking, I guess, what we want now, officially. But yeah, let's just go ahead and read this. We've just seized a tanker on the coast of Venezuela, a large tanker, very large, largest one ever seized, actually. Trump told reporters at the White House, later adding, it was seized for a very good reason. Yeah, we didn't just take it, of course. Of course, we would never do that. We would never. Trump did not offer additional details. When asked what would happen to the oil aboard the tanker, Trump said, we'll keep it, I guess. You guess? Bro, this is so wild to me. We literally, it's also so wild to me because we've been condemning what the Houthis have been doing, in terms, I don't know, I'm hopping and skipping around here, but it is in terms of like the Israel Gaza situation, and then with the Houthis in Yemen saying, hey, anything in the Red Sea, fair game. Until you guys stop what you're doing, we are going to increase this kind of activity. We are going to blow up. We are going to board. We are going to take as many of these ships on as we can. And, that was a hostile action, right? This, though, it's fine. Don't worry. It's a ghost tanker. It's sanctioned to fuck. Like, it's Venezuelan. Might as well be ours. I guess. this is how it works now. I guess that's just how the law is. Anyway, let's continue. I know I'm jumping the gun a little bit. The seizure, I can't say seizure, seashells by the seashore. The seizure was led by the U.S. Coast Guard and supported by the Navy, according to a U.S. official who is not authorized to comment publicly and spoke on the condition of anonymity. The official added that it was conducted under U.S. law enforcement authority. The Coast Guard members were taken to the oil tanker by helicopter from the aircraft carrier USS Gerald R. Ford. The official said. The Ford is in the Caribbean Sea after arriving last month in a major show of force, joining a fleet of other warships. Video posted to social media by Attorney General Pam Bondi shows people fast roping from one of the helicopters involved in the operation as it hovers just feet from the deck. The Coast Guard members can be seen later in the video moving throughout the superstructure of the ship with their weapons drawn. This is definitely like a fucking Call of Duty fucking scene type of beat. I at least saw some video of it, or some of the video. Bondi wrote that for multiple years, the oil tanker has been sanctioned by the United States due to its involvement in an illicit oil shipping network supporting foreign terrorist organizations. Venezuela's government said in a statement that the seizure constitutes a blatant theft and an act of international piracy. It is. It's so weird. Bro, we are literally talking about just piracy from, a fucking Western nation in 2025. It's just so weird, dude. It's so strange. And once again, to draw another comparison, we wail and we rave and we whine about China doing these fucking drills when it comes to Taiwan. And look, I get it. They're fucked. They're annoying. They're a fucking cerebral assault on the senses. I would not want to have to experience, that shit off my coast. I understand that. But how is that any different than what we are doing now to Venezuela? And we're justified because of all the drugs that our president is saying that they're moving around. Allegedly, they aren't really offering up any proof on this shit. So we kind of just are supposed to take their word for it? They have a list. Just trust us. Just trust us. Trust the list. And when we blow them up, just don't worry about it. It's an act of war. It's all good. Congress, don't worry about them. This is executive bullshit business. All right, don't worry your little head about it, kitten. Under these circumstances, the true reasons for the prolonged aggression against Venezuela has finally been revealed. It has always been about our natural resources, our oil, our energy, the resources that belong exclusively to the Venezuelan people, the statement said. Half of the ship's oil is tied to Cuban importer. The U.S. official identified the seized tanker as the Skipper. The ship departed Venezuela around December 2nd with about 2 million barrels of heavy crude, roughly half of it belonging to a Cuban state-run oil importer, according to documents from the state-owned company, I'm going to fuck this up, Petróleos de Venezuela, S.A., commonly known as PDVSA, that were provided on the condition of anonymity because the person did not have permission to share them. The Skipper was previously known as the M/T Adisa. According to ship tracking data, the Adisa was sanctioned by the U.S. in 2022 over accusations of belonging to a sophisticated network of shadow tankers that smuggled crude oil on behalf of Iran's on behalf of Iran's Revolutionary Guard and Lebanon's Hezbollah militant group. The network was reportedly run by a Switzerland-based Ukrainian oil trader, the U.S. Treasury Department said at the time. Venezuela has the world's largest proven oil reserves and provides about 1 million barrels a day. PDVSA is the backbone of the country's economy. Its reliance on intermediaries increased in 2020 when the first Trump administration expanded its maximum pressure campaign on Venezuela with sanctions that threatened to lock out of the U.S. economy any individual or company that does business with Maduro's government. Longtime allies Russia and Iran, both also sanctioned, helped Venezuela skirt restrictions. Which is something we've talked about before, where, I generally feel like sanctions aren't worth the fucking weight They're not worth the fucking paper that they're wrote on. At the end of the day, they just wind up hurting the people in the country, and they don't wind up doing the destabilizing thing that you want it to do. You don't actually make a country turn heel. They just get resourceful. And I guess in this situation, the Trump administration said, okay, well, we're going to make the sanctions kind of matter. Essentially, we've sanctioned you here. We've established this trail, this connection. And now we can say, well, this ship, it's Venezuelan. Doesn't really matter, whatever. We're just going to take it. It's just ours. We're going to do a hostile attack on this ship because of XYZ. Boom. It's ours now. Which is bold. It's very bold what we're doing here. I feel like, make no mistake, I feel like that's the main reason why I wanted to start off with this. It's why I'm trying to read as much of it as I can. But it's shocking to me. But it also is a playbook, I guess, that we've been running, that I've seen us run on Russia, saying, hey, well, this is a part of a whole shadow fleet. And like, we think they dropped an anchor. So, we had to detain them, But then you never really hold them because it's like, you don't really have anything real here. Well, it's a part of the shadow fleet. Okay, all right. I guess we'll keep it on the board for later. That's the sanction reasonings. I don't know, man. It just seems like a lot of vague bullshit that doesn't really wind up doing anything. But once again, the Trump administration was like, "We gonna make it count today." Maduro did not address the seizure. I still can't say it during a speech before a ruling party organized demonstration in Caracas, Venezuela's capital. But he told supporters that the country is prepared to break the teeth of the North American empire if necessary. I mean, that's cheeky. Maduro has insisted the real purpose of the U.S. military operations is to force him from office. And then they go into, some yada, 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 just, what are some Democrats, in Congress saying and thinking, blah, blah, blah. A little bit of recap. We did talk about the U.S. military flyover over the Gulf of Venezuela. Just the added pressure. And I guess this is once again that we are making these kind of moves because we can, and not to mention we want to try to scare Maduro into leaving. And then this is why I glitched out at the very top of this, full disclosure. I can't remember her name. I think it's Karina Machado. She got her her Nobel Peace Prize. I don't have the reference here. But she wasn't there to accept it. She was either in transit, she was there, but not there for security reasons, because she has like a travel ban in Venezuela. She's not supposed to be able to leave or anything like that. Her daughter accepted the Nobel Peace Prize. So there you go. That's touching. I don't know. So yeah, I mean, that's the situation at play for Venezuela right now. I know we really just started off the gate. Blam! But yeah, interesting news, heavy news, but I wanted to cover it. I will say though, no casualties or anything that I heard from that whole, ship takeover. So I guess that's good. We didn't like fucking green light any kills there. That's nice. No double taps. Anyway. Let's move on to our next story. Let me take a water break. I knew I had to read that all out, or at least most of that out. Oh, man. All right. Different kind of Trump green light coming. CNBC. Trump green lights Nvidia H200 AI chip sales to China if U.S. gets 25% cut, says Z responded positively. President Donald Trump on Monday said Nvidia will be allowed to ship its H200 artificial intelligence chips to approved customers in China and elsewhere on the condition that the U.S. gets a 25% cut. Chinese President Xi Jinping responded positively to the proposal, Trump wrote in a True Social post. The policy will support American jobs, strengthen U.S. manufacturing, and benefit American taxpayers, Trump wrote. The Department of Commerce is finalizing the deal, and the same approach will apply to AMD, Intel, and other great American companies, he added in the post. Let's see. Both Nvidia and chip rival AMD, short for Advanced Micro Devices, agreed in August to share 15% of the revenue from China chip sales with the U.S. government. But around that same time, China reportedly warned companies against using H20 AI chip that Nvidia designed especially for the country. Now, the H200 is a higher grade chip than the H20, but not the company's top of the line product. So yeah, this is one of those things where, even winding back to the Biden administration, they were like, we, for the sake of competition, have to limit our sales of these kind of chips to China. We have to stop selling them to them. We have to make it harder for them to get access to them. That's something that I thought was ridiculous. I thought it was fucking wild, and also not going to work in the end. But Trump was down to do the same fucking logic on the same kind of play. But there have been people in his ear beseeching him, trying to say, hey man, this is just bad business. And it's inevitable. They're already getting access to this kind of chips. Like, they're already kind of making, strides at trying to get chips at least of this caliber, potentially, further along. This is actually going to be better for us if we just sell to them now, because then we get to benefit and we're still going to be ahead. Just like, let this happen. And Trump was like, okay, cool. So I think, was it Jensen Huang, the CEO of, Nvidia? He's been doing a lot of crisscrossing between, the Trump administration, the White House, going to China, back and forth, making everything kind of work, facilitating this whole thing, because a lot of money's on the fucking line. They are selling the picks and shovels here. The chips that we are talking about are the things that fuel this whole AI slop world, whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? So a lot's riding on this, and they want to make as much money as they can while the getting is good. Now for China, they do want these chips, to my knowledge, but like, there's also this idea too that they're already making these kind of chips. They already have access to them. DeepSeek, the AI rival to ChatGPT, was already a thing based off of them kind of using the same kind of technology. So, they're getting there to a point, but this is something that's going to help them get along further, I'd imagine, and even potentially making their own, higher grade AI chips in the future. But who knows? Time will tell who's going to be right there. Y'all know my thoughts on AI. I will say, though, shout out to the Journal. I was like kind of going through that timeline because I was a bit bored. I don't know. My mood was all over the place, especially because I was overloaded on caffeine and then not feeling great. But I was listening to an episode that they did on, what was it? AMD, actually. And so kind of covering the story, not necessarily here, the specific story, but just like the rise of AI, and like how AMD has kind of played a part in it. So it was a really interesting episode. Sorry, I'm getting in the weeds now. But yeah, we will see what happens with AI. We will see what happens with China in terms of, how they're going to integrate this kind of deal. Are there going to be more deals like this to come in the future? Who knows? Who can say? Anyway, let me move along. Our next story comes from NPR. Judge blocks Trump's National Guard deployment in LA with sharp rebuke. The Trump administration must end its deployment of the National Guard to Los Angeles and return control of the troops to the state, according to a ruling by U.S. District Judge Charles Breyer in San Francisco. Judge Breyer granted a preliminary injunction to California officials who opposed President Trump's use of state troops since June, when the administration seized control of the Guard against Governor Gavin Newsom's wishes to confront protests against immigration enforcement operations in Los Angeles. So yeah, I mean, this is a W, but I mean, it's going to be up for an appeal. So we'll see. I imagine maybe even goes all the way to the Supreme Court. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely not something that I feel like is set in stone, but you chalk it up for the slew of L's that the Trump administration has kind of taken along the way this year, for whatever that's worth. Because I know that they are going to still keep, conducting these kinetic operations throughout the state. And then, we see internationally, just, with Venezuela as an example. So it goes. But speaking, I guess, of Trump L's in a way, we got to go to his hometown. There was a bit of a mayoral election, and a bit of a new boss, a new mayor is in town. So yeah, let's go ahead and take our last break, and we'll go ahead and close it out. Whew. I know this is such a 9 to 5 thing to say, but I'm just so ready for this week to be over. Like, my mood this month has just been so like, I feel like the best way I could describe it is like wishy-washy. Like, I feel like I'm okay like 1 minute, and then I'm just like really just not into this. Like, the whole ride is just eh. And maybe you can blame it on the season, or it's just the whole peak stuff, whatever. But your boy I'm stressing a little bit. I'm hoping things come together, as we close out this year. And like I said, I'm still positive. I'm still counting my blessings. But man, I just kind of find myself being like, this week needs to end. So we can get to the next one, so that can, it doesn't feel great. Anyway. Ooh. Okay. From Politico. Miami elects first woman mayor, marking first win by Democrat in 28 years. Whew. Democrats can now add a major city in Donald Trump's home state and one set to host his future presidential library. I love that. To its list of off cycle election wins. In a Tuesday runoff, Miamians elected Eileen. Is it Eileen? Eileen? We're going to say Eileen. Come on, Eileen. Eileen Higgins as. Is that. Actually, that might not even be the song. My bad if so. Whatever. Eileen Higgins as mayor, the first woman in the city's history to hold the job and the first Democrat in 28 years. Higgins, a former county commissioner, defeated Republican Emilio Gonzalez, an ex-city manager who had the endorsement of Trump and Governor Ron DeSantis, with 60% of the vote. So, hell yeah. I love to see it. It is what it is. Like, there were other, mayors in the, what was it, the election we covered, what was it, a month or two ago? It wasn't just Mamdani. That was a part of that whole sweep. But it's good to see that, it carried over here. I mean, granted, I don't think Trump's very popular in Miami specifically, but he's still big in Florida. So, a win here like this for Dems is cool to see. It just is what it is. The lib in me said, okay, all right. But yeah, other than that, it just feels like a more of a flowery flourish. But once again, cool that you get to see, a woman, in power, make that happen. Hell yeah. Shout out to a girl boss. And I actually, I mean that here, I think, I don't know, maybe I'll hear something problematic about this mayor. That'd be so fun. That'd be so cool. I love a good crime story. I love a good fraud. I don't care what side of the aisle it's on. But yeah, we could go into the details of it, but I'm not gonna. By all means, feel free to read the Political article. You can bone up on Miss Higgins if you would like, by all means. And then we can come into my DMs and we can talk about it. I would love to. We could have a whole blah, blah, blah about it. Yapsish. But yeah, that's it. That's all I have for today. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. Become a newsie today. We do the roll call at the top of the month. Shout you out, plug a project if you like. Let's see, you also get access to, a couple of old little bonusy things or whatever, a little of that, but more or less just a tip jar. But, by all means, no big deal. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube, follow on TikTok, follow on Spotify, follow on Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen. Leave a like, leave a cool comment. Sharing is caring. 5 stars on Spotify, 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, would you kindly? But if you don't do that, that's all right. I appreciate you listening to me get through this episode, just being a whole bumblefuck. I'm much obliged that you put up with me and my airs. It means a lot to me. that alone. So you don't have to hit any buttons or whatever. Just thanks for letting it run. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.